Hello, everyone, and welcome to Design Week Philippines 2022 Design for All. My name is Kenneth Bunos of the Design Center of the Philippines, and I will be your host for tonight's session. So, how's everybody doing? All right. So earlier today, we heard from branding luminary and Pentagram partner, one of my idols in the field, Dominic Lipa, as he talked about the importance of design and branding, complete with a case study presentation of SM's brand refresh. He was also then joined by Mara Cosson of SM Retail, Marla Darwin of Natural Selection Design, and Angelo Kuyagkeng of Canva Philippines together with Cookie to delve even deeper into the increasingly important role of design in image making and brand building. Very interesting session. So for this session, the last one for tonight, we take up another realm of design, which is placemaking, and specifically design as a tool in improving quality of life in cities. We take a closer look at the concept of livability through the lens of this year's World Design Capital Valencia. So we then deep dive into the local context as we welcome also panelists coming from different parts of the world, hailing from Intramuros and the UNESCO creative cities Baguio and Cebu for a discussion on quality city dwelling in the new normal. Of course, this session was made possible by our partners and the tireless work of the Design Center team and our collaborators. The Department of Trade and Industry, our co-presenters, Tourism Promotions Board Philippines, First United Building, Hubmate Club, our program partners, our design mentors, our design partner, our live stream partner, and our official online magazine partner. Special thanks also to our media partner, our government partner, and of course, our satellite design events. Thank you very much for supporting this year's 11th year of Design Week Philippines. So, all right, let's tell the Design Week story together. Post on your timelines, grids, and stories to capture the FOMO-worthy moments and quotable learnings, and use the hashtags Design Week Philippines 2022 and hashtag Design for All. So right now, to break the ice and keep that ball rolling, before we dive in, let's do a warm-up. On the screen is a QR code, which will lead you to Mentimeter, where we will get a sense check of what's on everyone's mind. If you're having a hard time with a QR code, you may log on to www.menti.com and use the code 7419351. So again, that would be 74, 19, 35, and 31. All right. So as you settle into our Mentimeter, I'll give you a head start by sharing our 2 questions for the day. So here's our first question. In one word, what makes a good city? All right. Green spaces, safe, inclusivity, responsive, proper planning. All right. Get them coming in. All right, so here's my take actually on what makes a good city. So last year we joined, a session in the Asian Development Bank Institute, and it's also related to livable cities and also smart cities. And I think if there's one word that I could connect for this session or for this question, that would be, people. I'd say that during that discussion, we have always, mentioned that the single greatest factor that could really influence the future of cities and its ability to survive and thrive is how well we nurture people and communities. So many people dream of future society that is smart, I'd say technologically or scientifically advanced, but I think honestly that the future of cities that do good is not just about technology. We always get too caught up with the science and technology side of things that we forgot that the essence of this smart or good cities is actually the people. So an ecosystem that has people at the core, an ecosystem that involves, invests, and empowers and connects people. So it's not just about all these shiny things that makes a city good, but it has always been about people and communities. So all right, we have a lot of answers coming in. I think the top answer for this Mentimeter first question would be about accessibility, walkable, inclusivity, sustainable, green spaces, and livability. So all right, thank you very much for participating on our first question. That actually got me excited for this session. So just before we start, we have one more question for the day. All right. So on the 11th year of Design Week Philippines, what do you wish for Philippine design as the festival enters a new decade? So last year we celebrated 10 years of design, and now we have already entered our 11th year. So for this year, what's your wish for Philippine design? Get them coming in. More support for Philippine artists, inclusive Filipino design, empower other design disciplines, be globally recognized beyond Manila. I totally agree with that. The next normal. All right, so I think for me, it's really all about recognizing and appreciating what design can do, or the role of design, not just only on the level of transforming economies, but also transforming the way of life, that we moving forward, see design as the point of intersection between or among competitiveness, collaboration, and compassion. And I think that would make Philippine design unique, that we are not just designing products or services just because we want to outcompete someone, but we actually design because we want to create those opportunities that would actually make a city sustainable, a local talent to be globally competitive, an industry that could stay afloat, in times of disruption such as the, climate crisis, the COVID-19, and many more, and a design community that can thrive and make more leaders. So thank you, very much for sharing your responses. I see that a lot of answers are still coming in. But to formally open the session, let us all welcome Luis Morales, First Secretary, Embassy of Spain. Take it away.
Thank you very much. Honorable Director, Design Center of the Philippines, Director Matute, dear colleagues and friends from the Design Center of the Philippines, ladies and gentlemen, magandang hapon, buenos dias. Thank you very much for inviting us and to having the opportunity to have this fruitful exchange of views and experience in design that is key to our current times. We'd like to thank as well Eduardo, Inés, muchas gracias for joining us, for giving us your insight and sharing the experience of Valencia. One of the main core topics would be to see the transformation of Valencia, as this year is the World Design Capital. And I think one of the elements and one of the best cases is that the transformation that Valencia went through, not only from a urban landscape point of view, but to touch the main elements and issues that we just heard in the introduction. That is to say, to improve the life of people, to have people in the center of the whole transformation of design, to make cities more livable, and to have better quality of life for citizens. And that, of course, the design plays a key role in this sort of transformation. How we have been seeing from a political point of view in the Philippines and in Spain as well, that one of the main challenges is the digital transformation, the ecological transition, social cohesion, issues going more to a green economy, all these issues where design has to give many of the answers in order to improve the life of our citizens. And I think the Philippines and Spain share a lot in common in sense of the diversity. Both countries are very diverse and with very enriched cultural landscapes. And I think definitely today's seminar and panel would be very fruitful to have an exchange of view from both sides, how we see how to address the challenges of our times in having designed and people quality of life at the center of the topic. So I won't stand anymore, just so we have time to listen to Eduardo, Inés, and our colleagues from the Philippine Center of the Design Center of the Philippines. That would be definitely very, very interesting to hear. Thank you very much once more, Director Matute, and all the team of the Design Center of the Philippines and the DTI, of course, and marami salamat po. Mabuhay.
Thank you so much, First Secretary Luis Morales. And now the Executive Director of the Design Center of the Philippines, Ms. Ria Matute, would also like to share a few words. Ms. Ria, take it away.
Thank you, Kenneth. Mabuhay, buenos dias, bon dia, good day. On behalf of the Design Center of the Philippines, I would like to acknowledge the presence of our special guests and of our distinguished panel, Luis Morales, First Secretary, Embassy of Spain in the Philippines, Eduardo Teixeira Alves, World Design Capital Valencia 2022, Ines Novella Abril, Consell del Diseño de Valencia, Jeffrey Yap, Intramuros Administration, Architect Donna Tabangin, representing Baguio City, a UNESCO creative city for folk arts and crafts, Hil Butch Karungay, focal person for Cebu City as a UNESCO Creative City of Design. Butch, Kenneth, and I will actually be part of the Philippine delegation who will be attending the World Design Policy Conference, one of the signature events of the World Design Capital Valencia 2022. We are all very excited to learn and benchmark our efforts with those of Valencia and hopefully strike closer ties between design stakeholders of Cebu and Valencia and of the Philippines and Spain. I would also like to express my deepest appreciation to everyone with us today on the 6th day of the Design Week Philippines, where leaders from World Design Capital Valencia and our very own Philippine cities are brought together to talk and celebrate design, particularly in ensuring cities are sustainable, resilient, and most especially using design to strengthen the social fabric and promoting the cultural identity of communities and cities. One of the key learnings as a result of the pandemic is the vital role cities play on the quality of our lives and our ability to recover from the pandemic. Cities are on the front line of this crisis. Our lockdown lives made us appreciate more our neighborhoods or highlighted its inadequacies. It is quite surprising that in these modern times of great technology, the term livability and city do not necessarily go together. We seem to have forgotten the essentials or basic tenets of living. And while urbanization has provided economic opportunities and progress, it has also brought with it massive challenges in terms of quality of life. So it is quite fitting that we tackle today the topic of designing livable cities, which aims to address and dig deeper into the many ways the public sector, private sector, and all stakeholders have responded to calls for developing livable cities through design. Designing livable cities is crucial as cities are seedbeds of innovation for a better and livable future and are deemed as important engines of economic growth, prosperity, and sustainability. Governments all over the world, and not just in advanced economies, are increasingly incorporating design in their policies and investing in design to create economically competitive and viable cities that are resilient, environmentally sustainable, and socially inclusive. Valencia is one leading example taking on this urbanization challenge and using design and design skills to holistically respond to these challenges of modern times. We, at the Design Center of the Philippines, are beyond honored to dedicate a segment of Design Week Philippines and play host of this virtual space in order to share Valencia's commitment to creating and nurturing a livable city and its initiatives that are on display as a World Design Capital for the year 2022. As the city of Valencia continues to be guided by the community it serves, it is more than apt to emphasize the importance of participatory processes and the engagement of citizens in realizing every city's development agenda. A city's livability, its sustainability, and all factors that make it suitable for living are concerns that should transcend the interest of solely design and urban planning professionals, but must be the concern of all those that rely on it as home, as place of work, and as leisure destination. And the responsibility to improve and design more sustainable cities lie not just in the hands of the public sector alone, but of the collective. Designing livable cities provides an exciting opportunity not just for the public sector and designers to share the knowledge, but for everyone, formal or informal communities, to participate in the design process, as they are the ones who are experiencing firsthand the impact of design or lack thereof. The concerted effort of the public sector, private sector, civil society, and all other stakeholders is essential if we are to revitalize neighborhoods and aim at developing socially inclusive cities that facilitate accessibility and embrace sustainability. This participatory approach in designing livable cities resonates deeply with the theme of Design Week Philippines this year, which is Design for All, which aims to bring the Filipino design ecosystem together as a community, encouraging design players to participate in the nationwide festival and to collaborate with each other towards a united design agenda. Each year that not only impacts them, but society in general, in order to use design to weave a stronger social fabric of sectors, cities, and eventually Philippines. To close, I hope the knowledge, ideas, and experiences that will be shared in the roundtable discussion today will empower and motivate Filipino stakeholders to work in unison to design livable and better cities for all. May this session today make you even more passionate about your own city's trajectory, and may it not only endeavor to make them livable, but also make them lovable. Welcome to Design Week Philippines 2022, and welcome to the session, Design in the World, Designing Livable Cities. Maraming salamat, muchas gracias, multas gracias, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Miss Ria, for that. Let's go into our main session. So our question today is that, can design be used as a strategic tool for a city's growth and prosperity? Today's speaker builds the case for that and so much more in this presentation. Our first presenter is Eduardo Teixeira Alves, who is currently in charge of the direction of the International Promotion Department of the World Design Capital Valencia 2022. Among the main goals of his department is to strengthen the capacity of World Design Capital Valencia 2022 to spotlight Spain as a powerhouse of creativity, innovation, design, sustainability, inclusion, and quality. Let us all welcome to the virtual stage Eduardo Teixeira Alves.
Hi, hi everyone. Hola from Spain, and kamusta for everyone, and very good evening to our friends in the Philippines. First of all, I would like to take the opportunity to thank the Embassy of Spain in the Philippines for this opportunity, to our Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and also the Spanish Agency for Economic Cooperation and Development. And I'm very honored to be the representative of our city in the company of Inés Novella, who is a researcher and PhD doctor in the Polytechnic University of Valencia, and a member of the recently established Design Council of Valencia City, which is one of the main institutions as a legacy of World Design Capital Valencia 2022, as I will explain later. So I think we have to display one video, and then afterwards I'll go to my presentation. Wonderful. Wonderful. So I'm going to share my screen with you with my presentation. Hold on. So now we are totally ready. As I said, my name is Eduardo Teixeira Alves, and I am the responsible for international promotion at World Design Capital Valencia 2022. And I say hola to everyone and our friends, and good evening in our friends of the Philippines. My main topic will be in the next 20-25 minutes will be just to really explain why this project of World Design Capital Valencia is of such importance for our city. As you know, during this 2022, we are organizing a vast program of events, initiatives in the city. But of course, World Design Capital Valencia 2022 really is not only a program of events this year. Really, we really want to use this event as a project for the transformation of our city, meaning that once we conclude this year and our activities this year, then is where the really hard work starts, because it's really when we are going to put into practice everything to really use the design as a tool for the transformation of our city. Number one, because the city has a strategic vision, and really we want Valencia and the Valencia region and Spain to be driven by design, either even the economic and corporate decisions from the institutional point of view, etc., etc. So we envision this project as a project for the city transformation. And also, this is also very important. We want to use Valencia as a role model for other Mediterranean cities with whom we share the same lifestyle and the same features, and also with our friends and cities and sister and brother cities of Latin America, with whom we also share the Hispanic culture. But at the end, what we want with this event that celebrates design is that the design to be at the forefront of the political decision making in our institutions and our corporations and educational system, and design to be natural to citizens. You know, when citizens are more educated on design, they demand better services, meaning that then, of course, this can have an impact on the institutional and political decision making and political planning. But also when our population has a sense of sensibility for design, they also demand better products. And this, of course, this affects to the way that companies have to be more competitive. And when you create a system that is competitive, of course, leads to higher salaries, and then it really permeates the prosperity. So design is really very essential, is at the core of our project. So when we decided to bid for World Design Capital Valencia 2022, we asked ourselves which were, our resources. Do we have to, can we really bid and apply to become World Design Capital? What do we have? Of course, we are not starting from scratch, because as you very well know, if you're visiting Valencia in the past, or any of you have had the opportunity to be in our city, even from the visual point of view, Valencia is a city that really lives design and creativity. Even if you're on the streets and you enjoy the architecture, the graphic culture, and of course the traditions, it's a very, very design-driven city. Of course, this also comes from the 15th and 16th centuries. Valencia was the very last stop of the Silk Route that it was initiated in China. And then all of a sudden they ended up here in Valencia developing the industry of the silk. So, and ever since, many of our industries, either if it's the ceramics, the silk industry, the textile, etc., and even on our traditions, we have been making design for centuries. But we were not aware of it. We really were not aware that we were making design for centuries. But if nowadays, if you see Valencia or the Valencia region, you will understand that we are a powerhouse of exporting furniture, textiles, ceramics, toys, and even tiles and architecture, yes, tiles, of course. So meaning that traditionally, our economic structure is based on a very strong design industry. And Valencia has been a traditional hotspot for Spanish design and designers. I mean, we are not here to talk about Valencian design only, but to talk about Spanish design, because Valencia, as I said, has been always like a springboard or a gateway for many Spanish designers. Number one, because either some of the names of the best Spanish design or designers are from Valencia. Number two, because many of them have been studying in our schools, because Valencia design schools are some of Spain's finest and best. Or number three, because other Spanish designers from other cities, they work for Valencian companies. So that's why we say that Valencia has been a gateway and a hotspot for Spanish design at large, not only for Valencian design. And we are very proud to be like a gateway, like an open door to the world of Spanish design and creativity. Of course, as I said before, our economic structure is based on design and design industries, professionals, schools. So we already, when we ask ourselves this question of, I mean, which was our critical mass before applying to become World Design Capital, of course, we had a design industry on our back. But then we also have to ask to ourselves, which is the city that we want to be and which is the city that we have. And then, of course, we led to this conclusion. Number one, we are a Mediterranean city and we want to become a Mediterranean city, authentic, not gentrified. We really want to retain our lifestyle and the way that the citizens will live the city. We want to be open, sustainable, tolerant, competitive. And at the same time, just mixing up the pleasures of living in a compact-sized city, but with the opportunities of living in a big megapolis. And just for instance, and as an example, Valencia port, our port is the largest port of containers in the Mediterranean Sea. And Valencia still is a very compact sized city. And it has the pleasures of living in a small place, but also at the same time in the right size with big ambitions in terms of economic and projection and international impact. So, of course, this is what we want to be. And well, apparently, when we ask ourselves what we had to become World Design Capital, and before applying to become World Design Capital, and then presenting our bid, so apparently we had it all. So, what can I do? I mean, we needed to really spot Valencia on the global map as a hotspot for design, innovation, and creativity. And it is when the World Design Organization came to us, or we went to them. I mean, it was both sides. And then they introduced us this initiative, which is World Design Capital, which is an initiative that they every 2 years, one city, let me check. But, the World Design Organization is the consultative body of the United Nations in the field of design. And they are based in Montreal, Canada. So they have this initiative that every 2 years, they choose one city in the world as World Design Capital. So we are the 8th design capital in the world. And then, of course, the next one in 2024 has been already chosen. It will be the transnational bid of San Diego, Tijuana, between the US and Mexico. And of course, we bid to become World Design Capital with a program of events and a project in the long term for the transformation of our city. And this picture here is the moment when we were announced that we won. We won, and then, of course, then we have been chosen. So now let's get the work done. So we won by the global designation. And after all those cities, as I said, we are the 8th design capital in the world. So these are some pictures of previous design capitals, but then I'll go straight to the point, why the World Design Organization decided that Valencia should be the World Design Capital in 2022, this year. Number one, because we host an established design community with a strong history and an interesting story to tell. That's what I mentioned before, that we already had a design industry, both artistically, culturally, but also most importantly, economically. Number two is because there is our local and regional political stakeholders, our politicians and institutions, they have understood the impact of that sustainable design in the development of our city. It's crucial to use it as a tool for transformation and innovation. And of course, there is a strong commitment from our institutions, and of course, to really make design to be accessible to the general public. So this is very, very important, because without the citizens being sensitive to design, very little we can do to really transform the city. That's why I need an event of global reach in the city to celebrate design, so that citizens become participant of this event and start to feel more sensibility towards design. And of course, the other of the reasons that the World Design Organization thought it would be very important for our city to become World Design Capital is because our Mediterranean approach on design could be inspirational for other cities in the Mediterranean region in Europe, but also other cities in Latin America. So, as I said before, we started our bid, we asked ourselves our questions, we knew that we had everything and a critical mass of design to become World Design Capital. We were chosen as a World Design Capital, but now what entails to become World Design Capital this year? So number one, it allows us as an event that we can use to reinforce the brand Valencia and Spain at both national and international levels as a powerhouse for design and creativity. This is an event, a very important event for cultural diplomacy. Number two is because with this event, we want to position design as a tool for transformation, either if it's on our economic structure to make companies more competitive, by using design as a tool of innovation. As I said before, when our companies are innovative, of course, they create a more competitive structure of our economic system. Our salaries can be higher, and of course, all those leads to general prosperity. Number two, it's because, as I said, we really want to position design as a tool for transformation, even for our institutions and public authorities, for they to really understand that they should increase the investment on design initiatives to transform our city and our society, and really to answer all those to cater the demands of our citizens. And of course, as I said before, with this event, we want to foster a design culture among our citizens for they to be really design sensitive. As I said before, and I will repeat again, if we don't have a community of citizens in Valencia that is really committed with design, very little we can do to improve our economic structure and to make our companies more competitive, or even to to make our public institutions to be more design conscious. I mean, everything starts from the general public and the citizens. And of course, with this World Design Capital, as I mentioned before, we want to make our companies in the region, in the city, and in other, of course, by the aspirational point of view and the role model point of view, to make other companies in the country to be, for they to adapt innovation through design in their corporate strategies. So those are my goals, and how can I do it? I mean, how can I achieve all those goals? Of course, as World Design Capital, I have two possibilities. Number one is the one that I'm hosting this year, because with a very extensive program of events and projects. This year, 2022, that we are World Design Capital in Valencia, we will have, at the end of the year, we will have accounted more than 200 projects, 52 interventions, 36 exhibitions, more than almost 50 meetings, gatherings, forums, and congresses, and some virtual and also printed publications. And because this is the result of a global ecosystem that we have been creating with more than 70 partnerships with academic institutions, media partner, cultural venues, political entities, companies. So we are creating this program of events this year, 2022, to really, as I said, to engage our citizens, for they to become more design conscious, the citizens, the companies, and the institutions, for really to have a strong impact on them. But then as a starting point for the future, which is the second part that I will explain, which is, of course, the one of crucial importance, the long-term vision, the strategic vision of the city after the year 2022. Of course, our program of events this year has been, how can I say, availed by an international advisory committee made by key people in the design industry internationally, like Ben Evans or Jaime Ayon, Hannah Harris or Marco San Michele, just to name a few. And well, I will not be very extensive on this, because this is the program of events that you can check online on our website, just to see that we are using this year 2022 to create this sense of this sensibility towards design to our citizens in the city. Some other of our examples from everything from we are occupying all the venues in Valencia, and also we have a very interesting program of international promotion, just to really highlight again how important is our program of events. We are in fact hosting the most ambitious monography about design or around design in the history of Spain to date. So this is the most important design event in the history of Spain to date. So of course, this is another example of the initiatives that we are having in the city center to make people come together around design through gatherings, workshops, talks, even artistic projections, etc. But the real core of our project is the legacy, which is the long-term vision that is aiming to transform the city of Valencia. This means that after World Design Capital 2022, after we have celebrated design during this year, we will establish the foundation of Valencia, the design foundation of the Valencia region. And this foundation will be the one carrying out all those works for the transformation of the city. Number one, this is already some of those projects for the long term have been already established. An example of these is that the Design Council. The Design Council is a newly created, established institution within the Valencia City Council, made up of 14 persons from different backgrounds, 7 men and 7 women. One of them is our guest, Inés Novella, who's an expert on architecture, of urban design and planning. For this design council, their main decisions or the main functions of this design council will be that they will avail and that they will have a consultative status, that every single decision made in the City Council of Valencia from the local and municipal from the local point of view will have to be availed by this design council. So because from now onwards, all the decisions made by the City Council of Valencia will have this perspective of design, either if it's aesthetic, either if it's functional, either if it's really serves for the purpose, or it really has a utility for the citizen. So this is a very crucial institution as a result of the legacy of World Design Capital Valencia 2022 that has been already established, and it is a pioneering institution in Spain. Number two, we are giving shape to the design district of Valencia. This is an area in the city that we are merging together the research and development laboratories and units, the design studios, the startups and the incubators of new companies, and creating an area of knowledge and innovation and creativity in the city of Valencia, around the coastline of the city, in the region of the area of La Marina. So this is already a reality. We are giving it shape. And also we are creating what is going to be the center of design of the Valencia region, which will be a permanent museum of Valencia design to really pay tribute to our history in design and innovation. And of course, there will be the archive of Valencia design. So as you can see, and I will reinforce again that, of course, this year, 2022, we are making and we are celebrating design with a very ambitious program of events, the largest in the history of Spain. But the really important part of this project is the project of transformation that will happen in January 23, with all those institutions as a legacy, as a result of the World Design Capital, and that will be structured through the foundation that we will create after this year. And of course, our main targets and publics will be the citizens, the government and institutions, and the private companies. And of course, this will be a reality. This is already a reality. And at the end, we really want to gather a direct attraction of more than 200,000 visitors this year in Valencia to celebrate design, but with an impact. We want to reach an impact of 2 million people, so that Valencia will become a benchmark or a role model for other cities in the Mediterranean or in Europe or even Latin America to become world design capitals, and then that design starts to be a transformative tool for them. So this is the end of my my part. And then I only want to acknowledge again to our sponsors and supporters. And once more, thanks to the Philippine Center of Design, to the Spanish Embassy in the Philippines, and to our friends of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and everyone, of course, all the team who has been technically impeccable at the organization of this talk from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Eduardo, for that presentation. We're very, very excited to, experience what's in store for this year's World Design Capital, Valencia. I think one of my favorite key takeaways during that session would be how you really emphasize that, cities really are at the forefront, not just only with regards to decision making, but also how cities can help harness design in terms of helping champion what design can do, amplify its broader capabilities, and most importantly, it's really the cities helping harness design to ensure that we provide the best quality of life where everyone could really live and thrive. So once again, that was Eduardo Alves for our first presenter, and for our second presenter. Here to briefly discuss an important component to placemaking is Ines Novella Abril. Ines' research focuses on gender-responsive spatial planning and design, and on structural change and gender policies in STEAM institutions. Ines has participated in different European projects on gender equality and RRI in S&T institutions. With that, let us all welcome in the virtual stage, Ines, take it away.
So thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very proud as a Valencian and as a Spanish to join all the festival there and meeting people from Philippines. Well, I'm going to first of all to change into a more to a bigger scale. I will talk about Spain, and also I will focus not only in design from the urban planning or urban design scale, which is my specialty, and then always with the gender approach, because it's the topic or the approach that I've been working and studying and doing research for the last 10 years. So I am going to share my presentation. It worked before. I hope it keeps on working. Just one moment. Okay, here it is. So in the context of this online conference, I think we should look at gender as a tool that is as a tool. First of all, it is a tool that is going to help any public policy or any private company to implement, develop, or even assess sustainability in a very general way. Gender equality, as you know, it's a sustainable goal itself, but at the same time, it's a cross-cutting approach in all the agendas, like in 2030 agenda or the new urban agenda. So it's something that is going to be present in all, or it should be present in all public policies. In my field of expertise, as I say before, it's urban planning and urban design. So this is what I'm going to share. I'm going to share with you what is the situation in Spain. Is a very interesting one. And then which is the situation in my region in Valencia. So a general overview of the European and the Spanish context regarding gender in spatial planning fields is that we have heterogeneity among the European countries. We cannot talk about a common framework in terms of gender applied in spatial planning and design. It is not true. We have some countries that are that this topic is somehow very advanced and consolidated, and we have some other country which is like a very new thing. I think Spain it's in one of the top 3 positions in Europe and probably top 5 positions in the world. And before Spain, because it is the situation now at this moment, but before we had in Europe very interesting experiences in the 90s and early 21st century. In London, I would suggest you to have a look to Matrix and the Women's Design Service. Both experiences are finished. They were destroyed by different political decisions. We have the Scandinavian women's movement that had a lot of impact in the way architecture urban planning in Sweden, Norway, and Denmark in the late 70s, early 80s. We have the city of Vienna. It's an example that I really suggest you to follow and to do some research. And of course, we have other, like for example, some regions in Italy. But this for sure, and it's like the base, like the first step in always that we want to implement gender equality in any scale, in any field of expertise, is to have a solid legal framework, or at least some guidelines or certain agreement. And this we have it in Europe. It not only obviously in the fields of urban planning and design, we have it among other policy areas. We have some European directives, etc., that are like somehow leading the way to the states and later to the regions or even the cities in the case of urban planning. So as I said before, I think Spain is a little bit more advanced than other European countries, but still, because, for example, all the public policies regarding urban planning and design they depend on the regional government. So because of that, we have a quite heterogeneous situation with significant differences among regions. For example, Valencia is one of the regions where gender equality has been introduced in the normative regarding urban planning, but this is an exception. Most of the regions in Spain, they are working on that. For example, I've been working with several regional governments, helping them to introduce gender in their normative. We have the Spanish urban agenda. It is included, gender is a cross-cutting issue. Then, for example, I suggest to have a look to the urban agenda of the Basque country. It's one of the best ones, one of the first ones to be developed and with lots of quality. And then in Valencia, we have our own regional legislation regarding to territory planning, city planning, and urban design. And I really want to insist in the necessity and the importance of having good legislation frameworks, because it's like the base. It helps a lot to keep on working on these topics that sometimes are a bit polemic or that are not received by everybody in the best way. But not only legislation, as Eduardo said before, people is very important. In the case of Spain, because I'm sure you know that we had a dictatorship not many time ago, we have been changing things very fast in comparison with other European countries. And we have achieved a very interesting situation and a very advanced situation, as I said, in comparison with other European countries, because we have three key actors, mostly women, but not only. Women that were working from the politics, women that were working from the academy, like for example my boss and me at the moment, and then of course the women's grassroots movements. The combination of these three agents or actors were key, and this is why I think we have a good situation in terms of gender applied in most policy areas, and especially regarding city design. But how we've been doing so? In the case of urban planning, we have legal instruments that are approaching different kinds of scales and types of implementing city construction, city planning, or regional planning. We have examples, solid examples in terms of regional planning, urban city planning, municipal ordinances, which is the regulations in terms, for example, of facades or of street lighting, for example. We have an important experience also in terms of mobility. The SUMS are the European regulation for sustainable mobility. We have example in urban projects, in infrastructure too, in civil works. As I said before, we have gender quite consolidated within the urban agendas, both at the regional and national level. We have introduced gender also in heritage catalogs, and because of the context of the European cities, many of the city planning has to do with urban regeneration or with renewal projects, because, as I say, the European cities are not growing much. We are more like redensifying, we are more renovating or regenerating what is already built and is existing. No? So we have introduced gender in this type of projects and plans. And then we are also introducing, together with the central government, gender in the projects for designing transport infrastructures and railway stations too. Because of the COVID-19, I think these three topics were especially improving in terms of gender, because the experience of the pandemic really made people think about their houses, about their neighborhoods, about the mobility, about the public space. And I think gender was better understood, and more people understood that gender is a key approach to guarantee that everybody is taken into account, and that we are introducing people in the center of the technical decision. And then we can also analyze the situation of Spain in terms of sectoral projects. As I said before, transportation, mobility, and accessibility it's very important. Housing, urban regeneration, safety and public space and public transportation. The safety within the public space and within the public transportation system. Also analyzing and improving the quality of neighborhood public space, especially school paths. Also urban facilities, especially those public facilities addressing women needs or proximity or everyday life activities. Infrastructures, multimodal stations, and high-speed train railways. Soft industrial and tertiary urban uses, how we are introducing gender in the design and the planning of working places or places in the city where they concentrate a lot of offices, etc. Also, how economic development and female employment is affected by the way we design and plan the city and the territory. And very important now for our central government is also looking at the rural areas where urban planning is different, territorial planning is different, and the situation of women is also different in comparison with the urban areas. So I think it's also very important to include this approach towards the rural areas in gender within the design of the city and the territory. And once again, the COVID-19 was pointing or highlighting the necessity of these topics: the mobility, the housing, how to renovate our public, our cities, and especially the quality of the public space. For the last almost 10 years, we've been working a lot with the central government, with some regional governments, from the UNESCO Chair on Gender in Science, Technology and Innovation, which I am the coordinator and one of the researchers. We do lots of activities. You can see most of our activities, and we apply them in different fields of expertise. Most of them have to do with design, with architecture, with planning. We also do some international cooperation, design service. It's very heterogeneous work, which is very interesting for me, but at the same time very tiring. I always learning a lot, and I have to be very, very creative in my everyday life work. And I am just selecting a few of the projects we've been doing in Spain. We've been helping regional governments to, in terms of the territorial scale, how to introduce gender. We've been working with the Basque Country and with the Extremadura region. In terms of mobility, we've been introducing gender both in the design of the infrastructure and also in how to take data for mobility. We've been designing surveys and helping technicians to introduce gender in the way they are analyzing data. We have a lot of data at the moment, but we need to introduce gender approach to be sure that we are not having bias, for example, in the way we interpret or we analyze data. We've been collaborating a lot as part of the teams in urban regeneration projects. I really suggest you to have a look to this project here called Madrid Nuevo Norte. It's a huge project. We've been leading the introduction of gender in the planning, in the design of the different areas. We are at the moment collaborating with them in introducing gender in the public space design. And in the city of Valencia, we've been collaborating in different regeneration projects. This was the first one, the redevelopment of one of the most important squares in the medieval part of the city. This was the first one introducing gender, both in the public procurement requirements and also in the way the square was designed. I was part of the team there. And then we are collaborating with the Inter-American Development Bank and other development banks in the world. At the moment, we are working with them in a very poor area in Asunción, the capital of Paraguay, trying to introduce a gender assessment in creating a gender action plan to support a new neighborhood that they are going to build for saving people for the river floods, for example. So it's very interesting. It's very, very difficult because the location is very different and very with lots of complications. But I'm very happy to help in this project because it's very interesting and I think we can really help a lot. And then we are collaborating we have also introduced gender in housing standards. This is very, very important. Because this is mandatory regulation. We are introducing gender in the way architects and designers should propose housing for the people. First, the central government asked us to make like a pre-normative research for the national law, that it's an ongoing one. But then we collaborated with the Basque Country and with the Valencian regional country in terms of changing the normative and how to regulate the design of the houses to introduce more space for taking care of the people, how to design the kitchen, how to design beds for bedrooms for adapting the house to the different stages in the life of a family, because most of the people, they only have one house in their life, right? But the families change over time. So this is also very important and very powerful tool to work from the normative. And then we've done a lot of gender impact assessment. This is a mandatory document in Spain. All urban planning and urban design projects should include a gender impact assessment. And one of the things that I really like to work more is the urban safety audits. Is the way we have to look at urban safety and urban safety perception. Here we work a lot of women with real women from the neighborhoods that are under a project. You can see here on the pictures the way we work with workshops. We do some walks. We take them to see the scale models or many other activities. And all this information that we get from real women, from grassroots women, from regular women, not professional, not planners, not decision makers, we translate it into technical input for urban planners or urban designers. We've been also doing a lot of strategic expert advice for UN Habitat from many different European, Spanish, Valencian, and international bodies. And we do it always for free because it's part of our commitment. We really believe in what we do, and as much as we can, we always support other entities in introducing gender. And one of the things that we do a lot, and I really suggest if somebody's listening to me, how to introduce gender with education and training. I am very tired of teaching people, from decision makers, technical staff, and professional researchers, and obviously students at the university. And we do it in local governments, in regional governments, in national governments, in also for the private sector, for research institutions and higher education institutions. I think education and training is one of the key elements for introducing gender in any policy area, especially if we're talking about a technical field like architecture or urban planning or urban design. As I say, it is one example of the way we introduce gender in railway infrastructure design and renovation. This together with the central government of Spain. And well, this is just one example for you to see that we look at lighting and security and accessibility and the way we can support women's everyday life in such an important infrastructure like railways. As much as we can, we always produce international conference. We have a series of conference called Engendering conferences. It's everything in our website, and we always try to keep on doing conferences. We are a bit busy at the moment, and we have not a new one planned, but soon probably we will have a new one. We make a lot of publications, both regarding the way to introduce gender in urban planning, but also later we've been doing like toolkits. You have some toolkits about urban design, about urban security, about more in rural areas for the regional government of Extremadura. This is more applied to bigger regeneration areas where lots of tertiary uses or offices or economic activity uses are being introduced. This together with the planners of this big project in Madrid, Novo Norte. It's also in English. You can find this in English too. And we've been also with the Valencian regional government a few months ago published how to introduce gender in housing design. This is available online, only in Spanish for the moment, but we are trying to translate it into English. And we are at the moment working in a toolkit for the region of Castilla-La Mancha in the center of Spain with a more rural approach because it's a very rural area too. And another very powerful key is to work with gender equality plans in key special planning institutions. For example, we've been doing the gender equality plan of the Spanish Council of Architects, doing a huge research on the situation of women architects and urban planners in the whole country. It was a hard research, but it showed a lot of data, very, very interesting. And now we are working with the Ministry of Transportation and Urban Agenda, and we are writing and drafting the gender equality plan that will affect not only the ministry, but also all the companies, semi-public companies regarding transportation in the city, infrastructure, railways, ports, highways, airports, how to introduce gender and gender equality in their everyday life, work, and capacity. And also, we always try to work also in an international level, lots of networks to learn and to share our knowledge. And going to the city of Valencia, I am very honored to be part of the Valencia Local Design Council. We are 12 people from very multidisciplinary backgrounds. It is the city council's advisory body on city design, and it's a part of the World Design Capital legacy. We took it at this like one of the legacies of this year. And our first commission we are working on this, to do a general assessment of the city in terms of design. How is the city in terms of design? All sorts of design: the streets, the parks, the facades, everything. We should finish this for the spring next year. And gender has been taken into account because I am one of the members of the council, and it's also one of the general approaches in the World Design Capital. They are trying to introduce gender in a cross-cutting way also. So very briefly, what Valencia, both the city and the region, are the way they are particularly introducing gender in their decision making in terms of design and urban planning. They have been introducing gender in different ways. The first one is introducing gender approach as a requirement in public procurement regarding most of the housing design competition, public space renovation competition, other urban planning competitions, and public facility design competitions. I am at the moment in the city council, for example, because I am in the jury designing one of these public facilities, and I am the expert that supports the rest of the jury in terms of gender equality. Then also they are proposing that a qualified expert on gender and spatial design is required as a member of the teams. I mean, the teams that are proposing projects should include a gender expert. Also, gender is an assessment criterion on the projects. I mean, they are evaluated among according to many aspects. But one of these is that they are gender responsive. A gender expert is in the juries, me for example, and in a general way, gender is considered a tool for innovation and quality of the projects, both urban public space, housing, or facilities. And just for finishing, just exactly 1 year ago, we had an important conference in Valencia, supported by the regional government, and from this international conference, where the AGI, which is the advisory group on gender issues that advises the UN Habitat Executive Direction, were meeting here in the city of Valencia. And from this important meeting, the Valencian Declaration on Gender and Urban Sustainable Development in the Post-Pandemic was drafted and was approved, and it's now one of the documents that UN Habitat is taking into account to address gender in the post-pandemic policies. So
Ines, sorry, we are running low of time. Sorry about that.
Yes, I am. I just finished.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Ines, for that. Thank you very much. Very interesting insights from our friends from Valencia. Here in the Philippines, the context, challenges, and opportunities for design may be, a little different. Tonight, we have actually convened an esteemed panel representing various cities in the Philippines. So joining Eduardo and Ines for this panel are Jeffrey Yap, Donna Tabangin, and Butch Karungay, moderated by Rebecca Plaza of Plaza and Partners. So just a quick introduction of our moderator and panelists joining us tonight. First up, our moderator is the founder of Plaza and Partners, an interdisciplinary team working together to develop sustainable design solutions that are sensitive to the end user's needs and aspirations, supported by rigorous research and attention to detail. She was awarded a gold medal in the 2016 Asia's Young Designer Awards and named one of Lifestyle Asia's 30 Game Changers of 2017, and featured also in People Asia's People of the Year 2017. Please welcome to the virtual stage, Rebecca Plaza. Welcome, Rebecca.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
All right. Now for our panelists. Our first panelist is currently the officer in charge of the Urban Planning and Community Development Division of the Intramuros Administration, or IA. He is also a prolific writer. His work and writing center on the theme of cities, on the rise and fall of cities, and how we can protect and preserve its heritage. Let's welcome to the virtual stage, Jeffrey Yap.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Welcome, Jeffrey. Our next panelist is the City Planning and Development Coordinator of the City of Baguio. Since July 2020, she has been leading the office in the formulation of development plans, comprehensive land use plans, urban master planning, and creative design for the city. She brings into the role a strong background in architecture, environmental planning, and research, She founded the SLU Incubator for Research, Innovation, and Business, or the CRIB Center. This center has evolved to become a tech hub, which includes a digital fabrication laboratory and a technology business incubator. Please welcome architect Donna Tabangin.
Hello, thank you for having me too.
Thank you very much, Architect Donna. Last but not least, our final panelist is a creative entrepreneur, design advocate, and community crusader who is passionate about the possibilities and intrinsic talent in his hometown of Cebu. Let's welcome Mr. Heel Butch Karungay. Hi, Sir Butch.
Paiva from Helsinki, everyone.
To all our panelists, thank you for joining us today. It's going to be an exciting panel tonight with representatives from Valencia and with leaders from Philippine cities. Now turning it over to our moderator, Rebecca Plaza. Take it away.
Hi, everyone. Pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me. But more importantly, thank you to Eduardo and Ines for such an insightful lectures, talk about what your cities are doing in the realm of design. I'm really curious, after having heard all that, I'm really curious to hear from our Filipino representatives, especially like either maybe Butch, you can start and tell us, maybe based on what we've heard from Ines and Eduardo, are there any parallels between Valencia and perhaps your respective city, which you Butch, you represent Cebu?
Thank you, Rebecca. And actually, it's good that you asked me first because we're docking into Helsinki early, and it could get very messy from my end very soon. The good thing is that this is the second time I've seen Eduardo's presentation, as I had the privilege of being at the International Forum of Design Networks conference in Lithuania last week. We also met Eduardo in person. I was really looking forward to being in Valencia in a couple of weeks to experience the multitude of endeavors and interventions that have been introduced for this amazing initiative and to meet more of the key stakeholders who made this happen. But unfortunately, I had to cut my trip short this morning for some important personal reasons. Having said that, I commend Eduardo and the rest of the team for a very well thought out, amazingly planned, and impeccably executed series of events, conferences, and structures, both in the built environment and in human networks. I especially love the legacy aspect of World Design Capital Valencia to really institutionalize, magnify, and perpetuate relevance and impact. So all the hard work you guys have been doing is not just limited to this year. I believe Cebu and Valencia have a lot of commonalities in terms of our industries, competencies, and outlook. So I'm very much looking forward to exploring possible collaborations that can leverage our respective assets and align initiatives to unlock future synergies. Ines's talk also really resonated with me as it had lots of parallels with designing for aging, which is one of the key themes that we've been discussing within the UNESCO Cities of Design, as well as the Singapore Design Week last month. Basically, for design to really gain the universal traction that we all want, we have to be as inclusive as we can and implement in ways that are empathic, creative, and clear. And I think Ines really explained that really well. Unfortunately, I need to sign off because I see the throngs of drunk Finns and Estonians.
Thank you, Butch.
The good thing in this post-COVID-19 era is that remote work and hyper collaborations are new paradigms that have been both accelerated and accepted. So while today's session, or my role in today's session, will end, the conversations will hopefully continue as we connect, create, and cultivate to champion the transformative power of design in the everyday and how it can improve the lives of everyone. Thanks, guys.
Butch. So super exciting to hear from Butch. I'm also now curious to hear from you, Donna. Perhaps there are parallels that you've been able to draw between your city of Baguio, Cebu, and perhaps Valencia even.
Yes, thank you. There are parallels indeed. But first, I would like to say thank you. I'm glad that I accepted this spot this evening because I learned a lot. For Eduardo, the World Design Capital is really something to look forward to. I think it's Valencia. That's the place to go to this year until 2023. And as an architect, I would really want to see all those offerings that you have mentioned earlier. And for the presentation of Ines, I think that's where I can relate to in more detail because, of course, in city planning for Baguio, gender and development is mainstreamed into our plans. But I think that what you have presented, where you are very specific already on which sectors gender should be incorporated. That's a big learning thing for me, and I think I'm going to copy a few of what you have mentioned this evening. Thank you for that. So what we did in Baguio, because we are also in that stage where we want to make use of very disaggregated data, most especially on gender. We conducted a very big census in the city during this pandemic. So even if it was quite difficult to go out and visit people, we had to do that because, of course, we're looking at this new normal already, where our plans in the city are really tailor-fit to the needs of the people, with special mention to women and children, because we prepare gender plans as well as plans for the security of children, and that's very important for us. So something really that is we should be able to do that in the city also, most especially when you mention gender and spatial design, because that's very important when we develop, when we design, and when we improve our urban spaces. It should be on the lens of gender already, for also with the different age groups, most especially for seniors and the very young members of the community. It should be that our cities are inclusive, because we are saying that we should have livable cities, or we are working towards livability for our cities. I think the most important thing there is for our cities to be inclusive. That's one way, I should say, in measuring if our city has really met its goal of being livable. Now, as to women, we also conducted a cultural mapping project in the city, and discovered that most of our culture bearers are women. And something really to be celebrated on. And in fact, for next month, we're planning to hold a community stories activities. So we will go back to the different barangays, we call them, the smaller communities in the Philippines, where we talk about the stories of how the community came about and what it is right now. I think that's the best way for people to get to understand their roots, and to at least celebrate what they have. And I think that's also one pathway towards making people come together. And with that, we are also making that these communities livable. So for the agenda of this administration in our city, we first identified that we need to have livable communities. And we did that because we were working on an equation of having the different communities or the barangays becoming livable within themselves, so that we can have a livable city. So that's what we are working on right now. So thank you very much for this opportunity and for the learning that I got this evening. It is something that I could make use of in Baguio City. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. That is fantastic. What a super packed answer. Thank you for sharing. And actually, later on, Ines, later I want to go into asking you more about gender in design. But before I move on to you, I'm also very curious to hear from Jeffrey if there were certain similarities between what we've learned about Valencia and Intramuros.
Thanks for that, Rebecca. Actually, the presentation of Eduardo and Ines feels like a master class to me. I was learning a lot from them. Actually, I was taking down notes. So if Eduardo and Ines don't mind, this will be more like a comment and a question for both of them. One of my takeaways is what Eduardo mentioned about Valencia being authentic, not gentrified Mediterranean city. Because one of the challenges of Intramuros as a walled city is that after the war, in 1945, we had a number of informal settler families that have lived for decades already in Intramuros. And next year, there are plans actually of relocating them. So that means there will be a number of, the population of Intramuros will be reduced and be less people. So that is, we have to fill in people. And our challenge is how to not make it look too gentrified or like an amusement park. So perhaps my question for Eduardo, which Eduardo can answer later, is Eduardo also mentioned something about 52 city interventions. So perhaps an example that can help us would be great. I have so many notes here, actually. Accessibility of design to the general public. What kind of accessibility or what kind of design will this be? Perhaps one or two examples would be great for us to apply to Intramuros, because to be honest, we are just developing our creative hub, Intramuros and the nearby district, such as Santa Cruz, which is a growing artistic community. So we want to make it as authentic as well, not too gentrified, because we want to avoid being too trite or to be honest, pretentious in our design. So that's it for Eduardo. And for Ines, thank you very much for bringing up the topic of gender, because in the realm of government agencies in the Philippines, we are mandated by gender and development, requirement to include in our budget every year. And it turns out we would always have mere lectures on gender and development. And sometimes it goes on, and it's all the same topics that we have. For the notes that I was taking here, implementing gender in the built environment, particularly in urban planning, because I'm currently the officer in charge, and it's only been 3 months that I've started this in this position. I would like to know what are the specific urban facilities that you feel should be introduced in the public space, particularly in a city. For example, Manila. I'm not sure if you've been here, Ines, not yet. Okay. Perhaps how do we integrate gender, not just mere lighting or security? I'm also interested in one of your talks in gendering cities, because we want to innovate our lectures, not just mere lectures, but also education programs for women. Maybe for our employees, because we have some issues on gender issues or domestic violence. How can we integrate those in an urban platform? Because we have a number of communities as well that we would like to help in Intramuros, which is also the walled city of Manila, a very historic city. So there, I think so far, these are my comments and questions for our two speakers. Again, thanks Eduardo and Ines for a very wonderful presentation.
It's my pleasure. Ines, would you like to reply first, or?
All right. I don't mind. I don't mind. If you want, go on, Eduardo, if you want.
Okay. So I noted down the 3 questions. One is the city interventions. When I mention that we have 52 city interventions, they can be either from the aesthetic point of view or even with a purpose, something more practical. You know that design has also this aspect of being inspirational by even, how can I say, by the senses, visually, and then it creates on you a sense of well-being. When you see beauty, you feel in a way or another, I mean, you feel good on you. But anyway, but also not only when we mention city interventions, it's just from an artistic or visual point of view, but also with a practical mindset. For example, I'm going to put you an example that we will be hosting next November with the cooperation of IKEA, the Swedish design giant. And this will link to the Mediterranean character of our city. I don't know if in the Philippines it's the same, maybe, but in the summertime, when there is when the heat wave in our city, we noticed that some of our neighborhoods in the city, especially the most traditional ones, the people, families, and most especially the senior citizens, they like to take their chairs from the houses and to be on the street. And they sit on the street and they mingle with the neighborhood, with the neighbors, and they create a community in the streets. So this is a project that this installation or this city intervention that we are going to create next month with IKEA, in a way, it responds to a necessity to create cities also for our senior citizens who live alone, and by engaging with the community and by having a strong bond and connections with other relatives and other citizens in their neighborhood, they feel better. It improves their health, their mental health, which is also very important. They do not feel alone, and it leads to a higher and better quality of life. So this is one of those examples by which we make a city intervention using design, because IKEA will design a sort of a dispenser of chairs that you can use on the street without having to take your own chair from your own house. I mean, you can take even, of course, the city has benches in the park, but this feature we have been creating with IKEA will be that the same way that you have bikes and you can rent a bike on most of the cities all over the world, you will be able to not rent because it will be for free, but you will be able just to, this will be like a dispenser of chairs. You will be able to take a chair on the street and just talk to someone else in the street, your neighbor or a relative, and then be the two of us talking. So this is a very unique feature of Mediterranean cities, but especially in the summertime, that people likes to go outside their houses, and then they, in the night or late evening, early night, they really want to talk to other people. So in a way or another, it's still to perpetuate our Mediterranean nature, and of course this way of life, to perpetuate this way of life that we won't want to lose, and at the same time just with city interventions. And answering your third question about how can we make design available to people, I think, I don't know, maybe in the Philippines is the same, but also in a country like in Western Europe or Southern Europe, like Spain, design still is considered like something of an elite, meaning that sometimes people, I do this very often whenever I'm just called to go to schools or to give other talks anywhere else. The first question that I make is always just, for example, to the people, to the audience, and I say, okay, raise your hand if you have an object of design in your houses. And it's like 3-4 people raising their hands. And when I ask which is the design object that they have, they always refer to an expensive lamp or expensive piece of design furniture. And of course, this is a wrong concept, because design is just everything, even from the handle of the door, from the faucet of the bathroom. So one of our missions with this World Design Capital in Valencia is to make all those 80% of the citizens to perceive design as something which is practical, which they are going to use every day. That's why we have to create a program of impact for they to conceive design in the most practical and everyday way, because otherwise they will still think that design is something of an elite, expensive, and with a static use, and that's it. So that's why we have to really create a program of events to approach design to people and to make them understand that design is just everything around everyone. And with good design, with good design, you can influence a better life and more, and of course a happier life, and all those factors and all those. I don't know if I replied to your question, but that this was more or less what we had in mind with our program.
Thanks, Eduardo. Yes, I think the practicality of design of the everyday, I think that's very crucial for us. Thank you.
I think, Eduardo, one of the things actually that Jeffrey, that you mentioned, which really also caught my attention, was how the emphasis would be on the city being authentic and not gentrified. And Eduardo, one of the biggest urban issues that a lot of cities in Southern Europe face today are gentrification, but more importantly, in Southern Europe, it would be touristification. And I understand that the city of Valencia has a population of about 750,000, right? But you have 750,000 people, but every year, I don't know if this is a pre-pandemic number, you would get about 3 million tourists annually. So your number of tourists actually outweigh the number of people who actually live in Valencia. So I'm really interested to know, how do you make sure and ensure that you design for the city and not for your tourists? Because at the end of the day, the people who are using the city and taking care of the city, paying taxes and all that, are from the city. So also to give a bit of context, for the others who are not so familiar with Intramuros, I think one of the reasons that also perhaps that Jeffrey highlighted this is because Intramuros is actually one of the biggest tourist spots in Metro Manila. It used to be the Spanish settlement that dates all the way back to the 15th century. And it's one of, I think it is probably the only city from colonial period that is still intact within Southeast Asia. So I think it's it would be very insightful for us here in the Philippines to know how we draw parallels and to make sure that, we're still designing for the citizens who use this, and not just for the 3 million tourists that outweigh the number of people who actually live in the city.
Ines, do you want to also give your insight on this because of the or
Well, yes, it's a very interesting question, Rebecca, and very difficult to answer because tourism is at the same time an economy motor, right? And I think anything is black or white. You always find like in between aspects, right? But for example, in terms of design, I think one of the best things that the City Council has done is also dedicating projects and of urban renewal, for example, or spatial planning renewal in regular neighborhoods, not only in the city center or in the old town or near these areas where many tourism it's taking place, right? So dividing the budget in all kinds of neighborhoods, including also the ones at the suburbs, for example, or where any tourist is going to visit, I think is one way to avoid gentrification. It's probably not the only tool, but in terms of urban planning, it's very important. It doesn't mean that the council has not invest in key areas also, like very symbolic ones that are also gathering tourists, but not only. And I think that's one of the things that I could share with you.
Thank you.
And also, yeah, and also from my point of view, I think it is, I don't know in the situation in the Philippines, but in Europe, most especially, because this is the totally opposite to, for example, the city models in North America. The only way to really tackle this, of course, this is a concern. And especially I can tell you that in the case of Valencia, the rentals, especially this last year, have been growing dramatically. I mean, the rental of the apartments. But the only way to really secure that this is, I mean, there is a balance between the cater the needs of an industry which is so powerful in Valencia and the cater the needs of the people who live here, is to have a very strong public sector. From the city council, number one, it's to increase the number of social housing, for example, even not only on the suburbs, but also in the city center, where it is the most, how can I say, splashy neighborhoods. I mean, they get really in the historic center of Valencia, they really invest on social housing so that they may housing available for everyone and not just to leave them on the free market, and only those who pay more will be able to have a house in the city center of an apartment. This is number one, social housing. And number two is also to set a control on the rentals for the retail landscape in the city center, so that the retail network, I mean, the retail concept that you find in Valencia, it is essentially made of artisans from the city, that they can offer something unique that we will not find anywhere else in the world. Because otherwise we take the risk of, when you travel all over the world, you always end up by finding the same type of shops and fast food chains and etc. And of course, this loses the identity and the authenticity. But even not only as a city model, even for us, if we really want that the Valencia model as a tourist destination is successful, the city, I mean, the tourist industry really has to retain its authenticity and make Valencia still to be a very Mediterranean destination, and of course with a uniqueness that cannot be replicated anywhere in the Mediterranean Sea or in the cities in the Mediterranean. So a very strong public sector, social housing, investment in social housing, and of course to set up limits to the amount of the rental fees that the owners and of the properties or their especially the rentals, the rental fees for the houses, and preserving the retail and the handcraft and what makes unique to the destination. I mean, of course, that would be, I mean, as basis. I mean, this I think is totally basic from our point of view.
Thank you. Ines, I think Jeffrey had many questions for you, a whole list of questions. So perhaps you want to share more about that. We have 5 minutes left, but I think that's perfect.
Yeah, to get very quickly. I am not sure if I've understood Jeffrey's question, but I will do my best to be very quick. I understood that you are asking about which sort of facilities should be like a priority to include gender. Is that what you wanted to? Which are the priorities for introducing gender? Is that what you wanted me to answer?
That's right.
Jeffrey?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's a long story to tell. Okay, but I will say that the most important ones, or the ones that should be like a priority, are those ones, public facilities that have an impact in the everyday life of the people. And which are those facilities? Schools, primary health centers, and infrastructure, transportation infrastructure, and the public space, because the public space in the end is the network that it connects everything. So I will resume it to work very much at the scale of the neighborhood. Now it's called the city of the 15 minutes. It's like the trendy topic, but it's exactly the same that the gender is being defensive for the last 100 years, I would say. But I'm very glad that everybody's looking at the same city model, right? So I will go to the neighborhood. I will analyze which are the facilities and the public spaces attached to these public facilities, and I will start from there. Always taking into account that urban planning is a nested hierarchy, right? So if you start from the neighborhood, you will have to go on to the district, to the city, to the region, to the etc. Right? But yeah, think about the everyday life people and about the caring activities. Because if you think about caring activities, you think about women, but not only women, because we all have been babies once many years ago, and if we are lucky enough, we will be again a dependent person when we are older, right? So talking about caring, it's talking about the majority of the population at the same time. Very quickly, sorry.
Okay, I think we still have time for one more question. Do we? Yeah, we do. Actually, I'm what I wrote down, Ines, is you gave a fantastic overview of working with gender in design of larger cities. I'm curious to get like an understanding of how you do so in a smaller scale. So you mentioned earlier how you're starting to introduce gender in public spaces in smaller plazas. Perhaps you can share more about that. Like, how are you designed? Like, how exactly? Like, what design?
Okay.
What are you doing exactly in order to design specific for gender in public spaces?
I can see on the chat that we have 2 minutes. I don't think I have enough time, but I will summarize it very quickly. I will say that we are for. I mean, it really depends on the context, in the time, in the scale of the square, for example, that you are working, the budget you have for renovating the. I mean, there are many aspects that you should take into account, but we work with the 6 Canadian principles. Are those? This is the topic. I haven't invented that. It is from the 19th, from Toronto or Montreal in Canada. And if, according to these 6 Canadian or Montreal principle, if you follow these 6 principles, the place you are designing is going to be safe and, let's say, cozy or friendly for women and for all those people who are under the caring activities, which is the majority of the population, okay? So these principles are longer to say, but very, very quickly, it has to do about visibility. It has to do with a mixture of uses. It has to do with the existence of security or safety or surveillance. It depends on the context. It has to do with the quality of the space in terms of furniture, of maintenance, of cleaning. It has to do also with this, with the aspects that the symbolic part of the design. I am supporting with my design the gathering of the people. Art is my design, supporting the everyday life of all kinds of people, so everybody could feel somehow attached or represented by this space. So these are the 6 points. I can maybe forward one of the tools I've been writing, and this is better explained than that now. But if you Google the six Canadian or Montreal principles, you will find them.
Thank you.
And always asking women, first of all, ask them.
Okay. I think that is all the time we have for today. So thank you very much, everybody, for such an insightful little panel discussion. I learned so much. I think we all learned so much from each other. And more importantly, it's very exciting to hear what Valencia is doing, so that perhaps people from the Philippines or other designers from the Philippines can learn from what's going on in Valencia right now. It's a very exciting time for Baguio.
And vice versa as well. We can learn many things from you. We don't have the absolute knowledge of everything. We can learn many things in design from you.
So we're excited to have you come to Manila then.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much for such an insightful talk. We learned so much today about how design plays a critical role in paving the way for livable and better cities. So hopefully many of you who are watching are able to take away from what we've just discussed. Thank you
very much.
All right. There you have it. Thank you very much for joining us, our moderator and our panelists. So at this point, I would like to call on First Secretary Luis Morales and Design Center Executive Director Ria Matute, our moderator Rebecca Plaza, our speakers and panelists to join us for a photo op. All right. We're setting it. All right. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, another one. 1, 2, 3. All right, there you have it. Thank you everyone who joined our today's or tonight's session here in the Philippines. So we value your feedback. So please take the time to let us know what you thought of this roundtable by scanning the QR code and completing the feedback form. Those who will accomplish the form will be able to get e-certificates for the session. So we have so much more in store for you in the coming days, especially on October 22. For updates on all things Design Week, head over to our social media accounts, DTI Design Center of the Philippines on Facebook and at DTI.DesignCenterPH on Instagram. Once again, on behalf of the Design Center of the Philippines, we would like to thank our Design Week partners, the Department of Trade and Industry, our co-presenters, Tourism Promotions Board, First United Building, and Hub Make Lab, our program partners, our design mentors, our design partner, our live stream partner, and our official online magazine partner. Special shout out also to our media partner and government partner. And lastly, to our design satellite events. So keep your posts and stories coming in for all your Design Week Club notes on social media. Again, don't forget to use the hashtags #DesignWeekPH 2022 and #DesignForAll. So just a quick announcement. On October 22, we close out Design Week Philippines in Escolta with a Design Sari happening in the First United Building from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. A bazaar, garage sale, thrift shop, workshop, music, and meeting place. This year's iteration of Saturday X Future Market will take on the theme of Talipapa. Being more than just a place to trade of tangible goods, the Talipapa also has spaces conducive for personalized services and leisure like hilot and busking stands. The Future Market aims to put the soul and spirit within the commercial exercise while supporting designers. Thank you once again to our Design Week community, and we hope you can join us on Saturday, 22 October at Escolta, Manila for the last day and festival ender of Design Week Philippines. This has been your host, Kenneth Minas. Good night.
Thank you.